Do you feel like songwriting and music production is oftentimes a stressful and intimidating process? Maybe you don't want to be a producer or an engineer, and you also don't want to be stuck with free YouTube beats that you have no control over and aren't exclusively yours. If you're looking for the absolute easiest way for you to make your own music, let's talk. Now, as an artist, producer, and engineer, I'm probably gonna get a lot of crap for this because no one in this space wants to talk about loops. But here at Track Talk, we're gonna talk about them. If your goal in life is not to be the best producer or composer, but you still are in a space where you want to own your music and feel like you have control over your sound to some extent, then loops can be a great way for you to start doing this. But there's a couple aspects of this that we really want to lock in to make sure that this process is as seamless as possible and that the end product feels as cohesive as it can. Before anyone decides to come at me for talking about loops, let's clear the air. Some of our favorite songs are comprised of the most simple, untouched loops and sample structures, some straight off of old synthesizers that literally have not been touched or repitched or reversed or anything.
That's it, that's the preset. It's the Rock 1 preset. Finally, someone let me out of my cage.
My biggest thing when it comes to production is what best serves the song, the artist, and the art form as a whole. At the end of the day, if you have a song and a sound that you genuinely love and that you as an artist and your audience can authentically relate to and connect to, then that's all that really matters. Now, is there a bit more depth in how your skills as a producer, as a songwriter affect the end product and how it genuinely feels and how creative and authentic it feels? Of course. But this video is not about that. This video is just for those of you who want to create your own sound and be in control to some extent of your music and your sound, but don't want to dive deep into the production world. You just want to create a structure that you can sing or rap or do whatever it is that you do over without feeling too restrained. Now let's talk about how we can create an amazing structure for a song with the easiest, simplest process possible, and that's using loops. Now there's a couple things that we're gonna dive into when it comes to creating this structure that are gonna be really important for you to understand. The first two is gonna be exactly how we search for these loops. This is not sponsored in any way, but I'm gonna use a service that's called Splice. They have millions of loops in all different genres and instruments and BPMs and keys and stuff like that, so that you have tons and tons of elements to choose from when it comes to building your song structure. This costs somewhere from like $8 to $10 a month or something like that, so if you're diving into this world, I would recommend you get something like this, but there's oftentimes free loops that come with your DAW or license-free loops that you can find online as well. But what I love about Splice is for such an incredibly low price, you get a massive database of loops and samples and one-shots that are completely royalty-free that you can use in your music with no hindrances at all. Also, if you enjoy content like this, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. It really does help with the YouTube algorithm and to push this video out to more creatives who could use this. Be sure to stick around for the end of this video where I'm going to show you a real example of how you can use loops to build a song structure and build out your production. I'll make it as easy and simple as possible so everyone can understand. The first two things that we need to know in order to build out this production is our BPM, or our beats per minute, and the key of our song. We'll dive more in depth into what those things actually mean and how they affect your sound in probably a later video, but let's just talk about how we can use those two elements to build the structure of our song. Simply put, the BPM is going to determine how fast or how slow our song is, and our key is going to determine what notes we hit and what scale we use to sing and add instrumentation to the song. Now we want to make this process as easy and as simple as possible so you don't have to be some crazy producer to format a lot of the stuff. So we're gonna use a 5-element structure to our production. This will allow us to have a full present sound with a lot of cool dynamics, but without having to have 15 to 20 different tracks and elements in the song that just get more confusing because we're trying to keep this as easy as possible. Those 5 elements are going to be drums/production, a low-end instrument/bass, a mid-range instrument, a lead instrument, and finally your vocals. So first we decide what BPM is this track going to be, or how fast or slow it is, and what key is it going to be in. Then all we have to do is search for those 5 elements that meet the criteria of the sound and the style and the genre that we're going for, that meet those criteria of BPM and key. So let's dive into Splice and Pro Tools and make a song. All right, so we're here in Pro Tools and we need to decide what key and what BPM that we want this song to be in. I'm thinking of something a little bit slower, a bit more moody and emotional. So we're gonna go ahead and go here to our tempo control on Pro Tools and change this to 70 BPM. That's definitely gonna be a slower pace. Let's hear what that sounds like. Nice slow tempo, which is gonna be perfect for the feel that I'm imagining for this song. Now that we've decided the tempo of the song at 70 BPM, we need to decide the key, which can be absolutely anything that you want it to be. I'm gonna go ahead and decide B minor. Now this is the fun part where we get to create a song based on what we're inspired by, the feel, the genre, the style of music that we wanna create. And like I said, we're looking to build 5 elements: the drums and percussion, bass, mid, lead, and then finally your lead vocal. Let's dive into Splice and see what we can find. All right, this is Splice. We're looking for the easiest way to create a song without too much trouble, without too much knowledge even of music theory and production. We just have to know the key and the BPM. Let's see what we can find. The first thing that I'm imagining for the song is like a reverse pad or a reverse piano or synth. So all I'm gonna do is search for that criteria. It's gotta be 70 BPM in the key of B minor. Let's start by searching reverse piano, see what we can find. So we're gonna go to our key right here. We're going to set it to B minor. There's 2 different ways you could look at your BPM. One would be to search exactly at 70 BPM. The other would be to search at 140, which would be a sample that's just twice as fast as your project, but still would fit within the BPM structure. All right, I found this beautiful reverse piano loop that we're gonna use. As you can see, it's in B minor. It's 140 BPM, which means it's double the pace or double the BPM of our project, but it's still going to work within the structure of this song. So we're gonna add it and drop it into Pro Tools. Let's zoom in. I'm not gonna touch anything about this loop right now. I'm just gonna copy and paste it so that we can extend our structure here a little bit. Now that we have the mids and a little bit of the highs filled out, let's look for some drums. All right, back in Splice, and even though this is kind of a dark trap melody, I'm still kind of looking for something more emotional and kind of lo-fi feeling, so we're gonna see what we can find searching for lo-fi drums at 70 BPM. So I actually really like this one here. It's pretty dark and saturated and distorted, has a ton of space to it. And as you can see, it's 70 BPM, so we're gonna drop it in. All right, let's see how that sounds. I like it, let's loop it. Now I'm gonna look for a low end element, which is gonna be a bit more tricky because I need it to fit within the chord structure of those mid elements as well. So I'm gonna look for like a 1-note bass or 1-note low pad that just hits that first B minor and that's it. I like this bass here. It's got a cool movement. It's got a cool progression to it. There are some frequencies that will probably compete with the piano loop that we already have, but we can make some really simple adjustments to kind of give it space in this incredibly simple structure and mix that we have. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this and add it to the mix as well. All right, let's hear how this sounds. That has a cool feel to it. I just don't love this second chord in here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna keep it really, really simple. I went ahead and just repeated that 1 note so that it has that break all the way through. These last 2 notes here, I'm gonna pitch down 4 semitones to give it that kind of full chord progression. Let's see how that sounds. Just a very, very simple chop and edit. I like the feel of that. It's got a cool progression, got a good feel to it. Of course, I can clean that up over time, but for now, that's where I want it to be. I'm gonna loop that across the board. All right, now that I have the drums, the bass, and the mids taken care of, I'm gonna go ahead and add a high-end frequency element in here to just open up the mix a little bit and bring in some brightness. The search criteria for the loop stays the same. I'm looking for B minor. I'm looking at 70 BPM or 140 BPM. Hey. Oh, I like that a lot. Let's save it. Let's add it. All right, the last thing that I've decided before we dive into the vocals is that I want a harder hitting drum to take the place of these drums outside of the intro or maybe the hook. So I'm gonna go ahead and search for those drums and then format this song into a structure that feels really cohesive and has the movement that I want. Ooh, I like the movement of this one a lot. Hats are awesome. Still feels kind of lo-fi, feels a little bit saturated and gritty. Absolutely love the way that sounds. Let's save it and drop it in. All right, now we've created a really simple structure that we can build off of and add in some vocals. Again, this is with 5 loops repeated throughout the song. Is this gonna be the most incredible production we've ever heard or the most creative? No, but if you are looking for a way to just get music into the DAW and start creating and come up with some really cool sounds and songs, then this is by far the easiest way for you to do that without having to worry about copyright issues. All right, it's time for the vocals. Check 1, 2. All right, it's time to add the vocals. And like I said, I want to keep this as easy and simple as possible. So I'm going to use the cheapest possible version of Antares tuning. I'm also going to use just an all-in-one vocal plugin that kind of takes care of everything all within one plugin. All right, we're going to start with the tuning. So I'm going to come in here to my plugins, go to pitch shift, and I'm going to use Auto Tune Access. This is the baseline bare bones version of Antares Auto Tune. There's very little that you can adjust. There's 3 options for your retune speed, 3 options for your humanize function, and of course you can choose the key that you're singing in. We're gonna go ahead and start with medium on our retune speed and medium on our humanize function. And of course, as we know, the key that we are singing in is B minor. All right, then from there, we're gonna do an all-in-one plugin to take care of our EQ, compression, reverb, all of that. To keep it as simple as possible, we are of course going to go with the classic CLA vocals. All I'm going to do here is make some adjustments to the tone and dynamics of the vocal, add a little bit of effect, and we're good. All right, we added the EQ, the dynamics, and some effects to the vocal. The last thing I want to do is just follow that up with the de-esser just to take away some of the harsh sibilance that is being pushed by increasing the high end of the vocal. Stay right. Now all there is left to do is come up with a simple song to fit over this structure. Let's see how this goes. So where you go? So no, hey, no, yeah, say can't tell up from down, can't tell left from right, can't tell up from down, can't tell left from right. In the east from reason, I put up a fight. Can't tell up from down, can't tell left from right. When you see the day, I still see the night. This confusion got me going insane. Are you the culprit or the master to blame? Yeah. All right, now that we have the vocals recorded for the hook, I'm gonna go to make some minor adjustments to the different elements here within this beat and within this production. I'm not gonna go full mix engineer with it, but I do wanna kind of make some adjustments to the EQ to make sure that there's room for some stuff. I'm gonna keep it very, very simple. I'll walk you through exactly what I do. I'm not gonna go crazy with it, and then I'll show you all the finished project. Again, 6 tracks total, all of them loops except for the lead vocals, and that's it. And it's got a pretty dope sound to it. All right, the first thing I'm gonna do is just cut the low end on this initial drum track here, just so it doesn't sound too muddy, especially when the second kind of lo-fi drums come into the mix. So I'm just gonna use Pro Tools EQ3-1, cut the low end. We'll cut it to about 120. Now let's go into this next track here. Again, I want to keep this as easy and simple and cheap as possible as well. So I'm going to also show you a free plugin called Origin by Cymatics. This is a really simple lo-fi plugin with the filter that does a pretty good job. Of course, there's better plugins, but this one does a really good job for free. There's a couple things we're going to do with Origin. I have a low cut engaged. We have some chorus introduced, some real like vinyl noise going on here as well. Saturation is pushed quite a bit, and we also have a lot of movement. This is the main thing that I was looking for, as well as filtering this down to about 17 kHz. Beautiful. The bass I want to keep extremely simple as well. I'm going to do the opposite of what I did for those early drums, and I'm just going to cut the high end with a low pass. Going back to EQ1. For the bass, I'm going to cut everything above 600 Hertz. All right, moving on to our main drums. Again, as simple as possible, let's go back into Origin. All right, we're leaving in the low end. We're going to filter this down just a little bit, pushing the saturation. I've also taken away the movement and the chorus and the real noise or the vinyl noise just because we already have that in some other tracks. Nice and gritty, I like it. Last thing is gonna be this lead pluck. Let's see if there's anything we wanna do with it. Let's just add a really simple chorus, nothing to it. Again, let's keep it basic as hell. Let's go back into Cymatics. We'll add a little bit of chorus to give it some space, a little bit of movement, less saturation, no filter. All right, I performed these vocals a little bit fast, so all I did was make some minor adjustments to the CLA vocal settings and then push the vocal forward in Pro Tools by a couple milliseconds because it sounded a little bit rushed. And this is the finished project. We've got 5 loops in the key of B minor at 70 BPM with a simple vocal track recorded over them, and you have a song that sounds pretty decent, pretty cohesive. Could we have more control? Could this be more creatively produced? And could it feel more mine? Of course. But this is an incredible way for you to get started in music and start building songs that you're proud of, that you have control over and have complete rights to. Let's give this a listen through the hook and let's see how this sounds.
Can't tell up from down, can't tell left from right. When you see the day, I still see the night. This confusion got me going insane. Are you the culprit or the master to blame? Can't tell up from down, can't tell left from right. When you see the day, I still see the night. This confusion got me going insane. Are you the culprit or the master to blame? Yeah.
In my opinion, that sounds pretty dang good, but that's gonna be it for this video, y'all. This, in my opinion, is one of the easiest, simplest, and best ways for you to introduce yourself to producing your own music without having to worry so much about in-depth production or copyright issues as well. This way you can keep it simple and you can focus on the things that you really wanna focus on. In this instance, that would just be your vocals, it'd be your rapping, your cadence, your lyric structure. And of course, there's always opportunities for you to grow in your ability to produce for yourself as well. This is simply just a starting point. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please share it with other artists and producers that would also find it helpful. And don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. Much more amazing content is coming your way. Peace.